This is our post-9 discussion, take 2. We're trying again because our last video was deleted due to lack of space on the hard drive. So we are starting over. So, not your fault. It's just what happened. I'm Emily.
Maddie.
I'm Grace.
And we developed a couple muddy questions already. So we might reference those in our discussion, and we're going to start over by talking about Cummins' theory first.
Maddie, would you like to go over the threshold?
Somebody else should go first.
I thought it was interesting how the book described Cummins' theory a little differently than we talked about it in our Spotlight on presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish we could go back and edit the Spotlight presentation based on what the book said, because I think I agree more with what the book said than what we found in our...
What was the differences?
The difference to me was that online, I read that it said teachers should move from doing context-embedded and cognitively less demanding tasks, kind of move across the Cartesian coordinate graph thingy, down to less context-embedded things and really cognitively demanding things. That's what I read online. But then the book said teachers should stay in the target area of doing context-embedded things and things that are really cognitively demanding, so things that fall into that category, which I think I agree with more than what I read online.
What are things that fall into that category?
In our presentation, we had things like, let's see, analyzing, I'm having trouble remembering.
That's what, yeah, that's what I was
exactly.
asking.
Like, analyzing and reflecting and creating, because those types of activities that require those that verbiage has a lot of context, but it's still cognitively demanding for the students.
That makes sense.
And it's kind of, you remember Bloom's taxonomy from last quarter?
Yeah.
It's kind of more like on the top of Bloom's taxonomy in the higher level thinking.
So I had the threshold hypothesis, and it was basically saying that students cross different thresholds as they move up in levels regarding academic language proficiency. And it's like kind of how you move up with grades. The better you are at being academically languagely proficient, the higher up you move. And there's only 3 stages, and the lowest level stage is students who can be conversationally fluent but not language proficient academically. So like they can't really read or write very well. This is for bilingual people. Sorry. But they can speak the language. And then the next level, they start becoming more and more academically proficient. And then the top level is they develop literacy and learn content in both languages. This has positive cognitive effects. And then it's important because somebody who has a good academic language proficiency background in their first language might come here and be tested in English, and then that shows that they're not academic language proficient, but they are, just not in this language yet. So it's just kind of like important to assess both languages rather than just the non-native language.
When reading the threshold hypothesis, it says that it kind of relates to the interdependence hypothesis, which is in chapter 6, and it talks about how like a student develops their skills in one language as they listen, speak, write, and read in their other language. And so it talks a lot about like how we should focus on making sure that a student is proficient in one of their languages first, so that it can transfer to their second language or English in that manner. But also just to assess like academic proficiency of bilingual students in both their first and second language, because a lot of ELL students can have a high proficiency in conversational language, which makes us think that they have academic language down, but really we should be focusing on that aspect more. And then there's like a diagram on page 232.
I liked that diagram.
Yeah, it's easy to follow, but we should always aim for the third one, which is high academic proficiency in both languages.
I thought one strategy of the book, or ELL teachers connecting words from two different languages, teach students academic language. For example, and I said this in our last our last attempt at recording this video, but the word in Spanish for hypothesis is really similar to the English word hypothesis, and so showing students those connections can help teach them the words and connect that meaning, especially like you said, if they're coming in, or if they're coming to the United States with a background in their first language, like academic proficiency in their first language, then they'll have a concept already. They might have a concept.
Really hard subjects it's a little bit more difficult than English or reading and writing, but like in math yesterday we did our little presentations, and mine was about supporting problem solving in ELL students, and how like just asking them to like speak their native language and being like, well, what is that word in your language, and just like bridging that culture, because then they'll like be like, oh well, this word means that in my language, so this problem must be that, even if they don't understand the problem itself, just like making sure that they can speak their language and making it so that they're able to connect those words together. And then in the book it talks about like science and how and like when we do science experiments, we could have our ELL students just orally talk about what the project is or the experiment is, and then move on to like group work, and then writing it individually, and then just turning it in. That way it moves from conversational language to academic language progressively.
I think it's interesting that you say that you should talk to them and ask them like what that word is in their language. I think that I've never had this experience, but if I went to a different country speaking English, and a teacher was asking me, oh, what's the word for that in English, in whatever language the teacher spoke, I would feel good trying to like teach the teacher something, and that would kind of help me build a relationship with the teacher. So I think that that's also an interesting way to like make the student feel valued.
When I was in like first grade and stuff, like I had to do like a couple years of ESL just to brush up on like my English or whatever. But like I think if my teachers asked me like, how do you say that in Korean, or like what is that like in your culture, like I would feel a little bit more comfortable with the fact that I am bilingual, or that I speak two languages and have different cultures. Like I think it's really helpful for students, and teachers should always make their students feel like respected and accepted, because that doesn't only help their academic success, but their emotional well-being, just being in a different environment with different kids. Like,
and then suddenly in your classroom you're the expert in Korean.
Yeah.
And even if you're struggling with content in one area, you feel like, oh, I am good at something, you know, like this is my specialty, and my teacher is recognizing that there's something unique about me.
Yeah. Then they feel like less, not stupid, but like, you know, lower than their classmates if they don't understand English, because then they're like, oh wait, I'm learning two languages.
It helps build their confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
Grace, I also thought it was interesting. You were saying that it's like a transition, moving from conversational to academic language. And one of the things that I read about was teaching ELL students one word or a simple phrase that can replace a big long thing that they're writing or saying, because ELLs often write with really short sentences, or really, you know, the long run-on sentences. So if we can teach them hypothesis means the same thing as I think that maybe this might happen, you know, that can help them learn more academic language.
You were saying like giving them the start of sentences so that they can like finish them. I don't remember which content we were talking about that in, but
The starting sentences of
The
that
sentence
last
starters,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that too. Like, I never really understood why teachers made us like fill out the sentence. Like, I think this because like, and it helps you think about like why you think that, or it just helps you think about your own thinking.
It also
Mhm.
helps you start to like develop ideas, because if you have no idea what to do, and then they give that little bit of start, it's kind of like there's an approximal development.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little out of your reach because you like, I still don't know what to write, but then it's like a little push for you.
And then it teaches you the format of an academic language sentence. And so
Mhm.
then if later on you're told to write an essay, you can be like, oh, wait, I know all these different formats of sentences, and I can
Right.
put them together with these other skills. In our last attempt to discuss this, we talked about the brick and mortar words.
Yes.
I thought that was a really good discussion. Do you want to try to recreate
Yes.
that?
Was this in the book or was this in?
That was in the chapter 2 of
It
the
was on the okay,
Zwiers.
cool. Yeah.
Zwiers, yeah. Zweiger, Zwier, I don't know how to say that.
However you want.
I thought it was interesting that that article, or Zwiers, talked about how teachers often teach the brick words, or like the easy to explain vocabulary words, more than they teach the mortar words.
It also said something about brick words being bold vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this is what this is, but then the mortar words kind of like help you understand really what it is. Like,
Yeah, that really helped me understand. Because like, if you're reading a textbook and you come across a bolded word, you're going to pay attention to that word.
yeah, but then like the rest of it is like kind of how that's useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like not useful like as a useful tool, but like the rest of the stuff I guess is just useful information for you to like really understand what that bolded word is, how it's used, what context, stuff like that. And I thought in our last attempt to do this, it was interesting how you said it was a good metaphor, and then I was saying that I didn't understand the metaphor at first because I thought mortar of as
Oh,
like,
yeah. You thought mortar meant a bomb instead of, like, cement trying to connect bricks.
yeah, so I didn't get the metaphor, and I just think it's funny that's like a good, I think it's a homophone, homophone, homograph, and homonym, because they all sound the same, they spell the same, and
Yeah, I think that would be,
Uh-huh.
they might be like, wait, you mean like
yeah.
firework? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, it didn't make any sense to me.
When looking at the bricks and mortar thing, I think that it's important to like emphasize that they kind of need each other to
Mhm.
build your academic language, literally.
Yeah.
Like bricks are important because they focus on the words that are easy to understand and words that are important, but also mortars are words that help kind of like build the importance of it. It emphasizes like the needs for the tasks or like what you need to do with those brick words.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important.
But Maddie, I think like what you were saying, the figurative language of like the metaphor of bricks and mortars, ELLs are going to have a hard time understanding that.
Yeah.
And so if you use that kind of language with them, the figurative language, they're going to be like, so you might need to explain it really thoroughly and like have some visuals, like you said.
Oh yeah,
Before.
putting it in the classroom.
Yeah, maybe like have like a poster or something.
Yeah.
The visuals go back to the Bix and the Calp, which we still need to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
We could tie that in now. I had to explain what Bix and Calp were. Bix are basic interpersonal communicative skills. It's not complex, it's not abstract. It's a social type of language, and it's accompanied by pictures, real objects, facial expressions, and gestures to give clues to the listener. It's not very formal way of speaking, so you would speak it like maybe at your house, depending on like how your household speaks, because some households might not. So I was kind of confused why it said at home, because not some people have, like some children have to talk very formally to their parents, but like parties, sporting events, friends, etc. And then the CALP is cognitive academic language proficiency, and it's more complex and abstract, and it's how you would write like a formal letter or give a formal presentation. And it doesn't it's not accompanied by linguistic clues such as pictures, gestures, facial expressions, and stuff. And that was kind of basically it. But
Yeah.
you said using pictures and stuff to help talk
Mhm.
about brick and mortar, like that would go back to the interpersonal community skills. But then we also said in our last post, trying to do this, that using pictures and objects can also be in academic language to try and get to understand it more, I guess.
So it makes me kind of think of like academic language could be everywhere.
Mhm.
Like in anything,
Mhm.
really, like pictures and visual aids are language, conversations, your experience, your background, like everything is a big part of academic language and how everyone has a different background. That's
I
so
think of
interesting.
academic language more as like grammar, punctuation, spelling, formal sentences. Like you can say yo to somebody and they know you mean hey, but that's not academic.
Yeah.
If you wrote that in like a very formal paper, you would get marked off. So I'm thinking like that you wouldn't have like helpful pictures and stuff in writing that's academic. So that's what I think that they mean.
Yeah, but if you're trying to teach academic
Yeah,
language,
that's
right.
I think that's the connection I was making because it's kind of using the CEOP strategies of like modeling and showing pictures and things like that. That it makes it easier to understand. It gives context to these really abstract
Ideas.
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure this is still recording.
Yeah. We have a fear.
A little nervous about it.
It's frozen. Oh my god.
Give it a sec. It'll be okay. Just give it a minute. My computer's being slow lately. Everything will be okay.
In the case that it's still recording,
I think we should make sure that it is first.
Yeah.
well then we're just sitting here.
It's okay.
That's what I'm
Sorry about the delay.
If we're on,
If-
so.
Figure out a technical difficulty.
Will it have recorded at least that part though?
Probably. I mean, it just has this spinny rainbow thing.
If it recorded that part, we should just or I guess make a second video and upload two.
Yeah, maybe.
Are you waiting still?
It's doing something.
For the third time.
Yeah, no, we're not
I have
gonna-
other stuff to do.
Me too.
Yeah.
Can you call me, please?
Technology is not our friend today.
It's gonna be a real nice close up of your face, Emily.
Is my photo booth still open? It's on.
Oh man, guys, I'm getting a little freaked out right now.
It's okay. You know, there's no point in like stressing and worrying
Yeah.
because worst comes to worst, we'll comment. If it works, we're lucky. But no one needs more stress in their lives.
I don't think it would have closed out of your
No,
lights
see, it
on.
still has
Yeah.
the thing. So computer's getting
Is it older?
really warm. 5 years old.
Why don't we stop it at where it is
And
then use somebody's phone to finish it off?
that sounds good.
That way we don't have
Wait,
to
did
comment.
it just go up? Like, did
No,
it?
we're giving it.
Okay.
It's thinking. It's
We could just start recording our discussion on the phone, and if it gets into the video, it's not really a big deal.
that's fine.
We just have the video.
I'm gonna be a little distracted by this for a second.
We have
That's
a
fine.
video and presentation on academic.
Okay, it's still going. It's
Oh.
just
Is it working?
yeah, but I think we should pause it
Okay.
and then finish off the 10 minutes on somebody else's phone.